Success is what we do best at the Blue Collar Success Group.
As we get started here, nobody moves to Florida to think they're going to get snowed on. And I had this funny thought. And by the way, I'm a lot more social and a lot less media when it comes to social media. So I'm not a big social media guy. It's not my forte. But I was actually talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about how they love Florida, but the one thing that they miss are the seasons from where they came from. And I'm like, I don't know what you did to us by wishing that we had seasons in Florida, but go back to where you came from. We don't like snow here. And so it's beautiful to look at. I know some of my folks in Houston that are hopping in, they had 6 inches of snow in Houston. And it was like the first time in like 60 years they've had anything like this happen. So I don't even know the last time it snowed like it has in New Orleans. I think I got a friend of mine that's coming. They were at 12 inches of snow where they were at in New Orleans. Just super crazy. So, and I know all of our Midwest people, they're like, whoop-de-doo, you got a little dusting, you got 6 inches, no big deal, right? So y'all are chuckling because I know you guys. We're excited to have everybody here today, and I am super thrilled to share in the next 2 hours with you not only energy but content. I just want to share with you what ride you're on today. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be on a fun ride. And the ride that we're going to be on, I'm going to do something today because I don't want you to leave before we get into it because you're going to miss out on what we talk about. But today we're going to be focusing on just little small shifts in the business. And today I'm actually going to do some teaching. This is not just going to be webinar land. What is super important is that you have your camera on if you have capability of having a camera on. And I want you to open up your chat because there's going to be some chatting going on back and forth. And my team's going to make sure that they filled any and everything that you guys have. Yeah, hey, awesome. Va Beach is in the house today. Meg, good to have you in with us as well. We're super excited to be hosting this not only for our members, but for non-members as well. And so thank you for taking the time to register here with us today and be in this webinar where we're going to talk the 3% sales shift, how a small change can add up to $500,000 to your top line. I'm just curious. Open up the chat. How many people would like a little bit more revenue in their business? Just a little bit. And if you want to get real specific, how about you do me a favor? Tell me how much you want. Yes. Thank you, Shane. Heck yeah. That's me, Jim. Good to see you, brother. Heck yeah. That's a Southern thing. I don't know how a Virginia boy comes up with something like that, but good to have you as well. Jim hopping in here always. Okay, so Chris looking okay. All right, good. So I got 300,000, 800,000, 300,000. I got an always in the house of 500,000, 66. Wow, same as 23 to 24. Andy, congratulations. At least 4 million and 25, 3%, 4 million, all of it. Give me all that money. Give me all the revenue. Yeah, 2 million. Thank you, Chris, on that. 1.5. What I want to do now is I want to just ask you to join me here in Zoom land. And what I mean by that is many of you got a lot going on. The service business can be a grind. It can rob, steal, and pillage your time clock and rob you of all kinds of opportunity and joy and increase frustration if you let it. But what I want to do over the next 2 hours with your time is to ask you to disconnect from everything. Imagine that you're not in your office. I want you to go to a place that you believe would be quiet and cozy, like almost like a library where you don't have a lot of distractions walking by. You don't have people that are asking you questions and knocking on the door. Hey, do yourself a favor. If you're going to spend 2 hours, why don't you disconnect from this thing? Take it out, put it on silent. Don't answer it. If the house is burning down, tell them to get out of the house because you're trying to grow your business. And so over the next 2 hours, I want to be able to help take you on that journey to truly be able to help you grow your business. Before we get going, I think it'd be important. Some of you probably want to know, like, who is this guy that's already elevated and we're 5 minutes into this call and he's already yelling and screaming? Well, I do want to make it very clear. I am from the industry. I was a previous business owner, but prior to joining the Blue Collar Success Group, I'm going on year 29 in the industry. I've been in the industry now for 29 years and had various opportunities throughout my career. What makes me the expert on today's topic? Well, you're talking to not only a person that was in the field that ran calls successfully and set records at the company that I worked for, and I received rewards and recognition. And this ain't about me at all. It's 100% about you, but I want to make sure you understand that I'm not some guru that has read something or went to college and I've learned something and I want to share it with you. No, I'm talking about, and I'm not minimizing that, by the way, but I'm giving you practical, real world experience delivered right to you via Zoom. As a previous owner, I can share with you the tactical things that we're going to be talking about today that are proven. They work. Not work past tense, work present tense. They do work. And if you'll allow yourself the freedom and the space today on this call to absorb the information and take an opportunity to not discredit anything you see or hear until you've heard everything, until you saw everything. So let's jump in. And John, if you can do me a huge favor, just verify that I am in a screen share that makes the most sense. Perfect. All right. So what I want to do for everyone here today is make sure that as you chat in, my team is going to capture stuff. So if you do have a question, my team will be chatting with you to make sure that you are getting the answers. And if not, hang around to the very end and I'll make sure I answer any and all questions that you have. So today, as we think about the 3% sales shift, I'm just curious, really quick, would anybody be willing today to take a trip with us? And so yeah, hey, thank you, Les. Yeah, thanks for being in with us, joining in. And I'm curious if you were down to take a trip with us, I want you to open up your chat, and I would like for you to type in the box, where would you want to go? What trip would you want to take? Type that in. Maybe it's a trip you like to take often, or maybe it's a dream trip, a vacation. Where would you want to go if we were to take a trip? Pack our bags. Where would you want the plane or the boat or the car or the whatever your means of transportation? Where would you want it to go? Type that in the box really quick. I always learn new destinations when I do this. Bora Bora, great, Shannon. I'll double down. Brazil, Brandon, on to Brazil. Fiji, a lot of tropical places. Brandon, after that, maybe Europe. Yeah, stop off in there. Barcelona, yeah, I get that for sure. Japan, just Cabo, just real quick, right, Chris? Just to Cabo, come right back. Caribbean islands, yep. I got that Cancun, Europe, or a cruise. Costa Rica, beautiful country, Bill. Love that place. Anywhere with a beach. Well, Mike, let me say this. Do you want snow on your beach? Because if you want snow on your beach, you can go to Panama City, and they have snow on their beach there. Greece, yeah, Barbados, Costa Rica, again, once again, beautiful country. Cruising around the world. Ireland, take me to the mountains, said Scott. Well, every now and then through chat, I learn of some new places that I might need to add to my list. And Greece is one of those. Our coaching and training manager has family that lives in Greece, and he says, Chris, it's amazing there. So, as we think about taking that trip, I'd like for you to join me for a moment. In fact, actually, last week before last, I actually just got back from a trip to San Diego, as chance would have it, and I thought it would be very applicable for our time today if I talked about taking a trip from Sarasota, which is where I'm currently sitting right now. I'm in Sarasota, Florida, and if I were to get on a plane and that plane's destination was San Diego, I want to just share with you that if the airplane takes off and it is 3 degrees off. Once again, if we depart from SRQ, Sarasota International Airport, and we're headed to San Diego, and we're just 3 degrees off north, when we take off and we maintain that same 3 degrees off north, I want to ask you a question. Where do you think we would end up? Type it in the box. And this is not we're not on the travel channel right now. We're going to get down to content, but I need to be able to prove a point to get you bought in on where we're going with this. I need you to get your mind right. So type it in. We're just out of curiosity. If we left Sarasota and we went Vegas, Seattle, Vancouver, Canada, or Mexico, San Francisco, British Columbia, because the captain wanted to. Thank you for that, Brandon. Portland, Canada. Yeah, this is the craziest part. This is the super craziest part. When I did my research on this, yeah, exactly, right. When I did my research on this, just to really dig down to find out how much of a difference would 3 degrees make. And according to my research and study, check this out. You would end up landing in the Hudson Bay in Canada. And look, before you go, there's no way that's 3 degrees. Remember, this is a massive piece of land. And so when I take off at this little bitty airport in Sarasota, and we're supposed to be headed to San Diego, which is kind of somewhat due northwest, if I was 3 degrees off on the flight path, that trajectory over the course of time would put me in the Hudson Bay of Canada. Way off course. In other words, 3 degrees, about 1,800 miles off. And that's pretty big when you're trying to get to San Diego and you find yourself in Canada. That would be pretty disappointing if my destination was sunny San Diego. However, as I looked at this, I come to a conclusion, which is something that we say often at Blue Collar. Small hinges swing large doors. In other words, 3% could equal 500,000 based on our math. And I know that you're thinking that, Chris, you've lost your mind. There's no way. And so today, I'm not only going to show you the math behind it, I'm going to show you how to actually go get it. Fair enough? If you stay for the entire duration, you're going to know exactly, prescriptively, what to go do. And what we're really going to talk about is what we often refer to as the compounding effect. And a lot of times as businesses, we can make small adjustments, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit of this. But when you take all those little bitty bits, they add up to this massive impact. In other words, stacking. And so when we stack things on top of one another, they create this compounding effect, kind of like compounding interest. And so what I want to do, if I could, I'd ask you to think about your business as though this were it. And you can plug your numbers into it if you wanted to. But in this scenario, this company is a little bit over almost a $4.5 million company. They run 50 calls a day, they have 50 calls a day that come into the office. Out of that, 77% of those calls get booked, translating into 39 calls that get dispatched. I'm going to not get into cancellations because that only would cloud our judgment today and it'd be another number to keep up with. So let's assume that all 39 of those calls got dispatched and we sent a truck out to it. After knocking on 39 doors, 73% of the homeowners or customers said yes to our offering, meaning that we closed 28 of those calls. We did so at a $650 average transaction. So 650 multiplied times the 28 closed calls, $18,268.25. The total revenue per day, if you look at, is that number. Now, if we have 5 days a week and 10 service techs at 49 weeks, this is $4.4 million that we're going to do. Let's look at 3%. Let's imagine same amount of calls. Listen, I'm not saying we got to go get more calls. And I know that in the world today, people are saying, I need more calls, I need more calls, I need more calls. And I don't disagree with that in some scenarios. But I'm going to ask you a question. What if you could add another $500,000 top line with no more calls? You become more profitable when you do it that way, and I'll show you how. Same 50 calls, instead of a 77, we're at 80. That now means we're running 40 calls. Instead of a 73% close rate, 76% close rate. Now I've got 30 closed calls at a 3% increase of average ticket, which is only $20. It's only a $20 increase. And in this scenario, 3% in the call center, 3% close rate, and 3% average ticket. Those three numbers alone generated in the exact same business, nothing any different other than getting 3% better in those areas. $514,438.75. Well, let me show you what that performance looks like. As I said, now I'm going to show you how to actually do that. Okay, how do we actually do that? And you can use your numbers, whatever your numbers are, we can use those. So once again, conversion rate 77 to 80, close rate in the field 73 to 76, average ticket 650 to 670, 3% better. Why do you think it is that from time to time we overlook the power of incremental improvements? Well, because Chris, there's no way it can just be that easy. Well, some of us understand the power of incremental improvements, and we experience what those have like. Some of you as members, you know exactly, we talk about this a lot, of incremental improvements in your revenue. A little bit here, a little bit there makes a massive difference. But one of the common misconceptions that we often see is that people just don't consider the effect that they can make by just a little bit. They're thinking, no, we need to, put 10 more calls on the board, or, I need to add a whole nother truck. And, in this scenario, 3% incremental improvement is virtually added a whole nother service truck, right? Thank you, Donetta. Yeah, I didn't think people stick with things because you see a reward soon enough. It does take time. Very good point, Donetta. Instant gratification. We live in a world of people wanting instant results. So the question is, where do we start? Like, where would I start, Chris? And don't let the rookie mindset set in right here. Allowing the rookie mindset to show up right here, also known as the trap of the amateur. The rookie mindset says, Chris, look, we're good as we are. We're great. We're fine. We're fantastic. No, we're not. I'm looking for something big to do. What if I showed you something small to do that could make just as much of an impact? Would that be of interest to you? I hope so. Let's start first with process. And I'm not today going to drive into the building of a process, but I'm going to say when it comes to how things are delivered in your business, how we deliver our products to the end user homeowners, has to be a process. And if there is no process, it's hard for other people to follow something. And this is where we find in the industry that we're looking for plug and play people. I'm just looking for plug and play people on the phone. I'm looking for plug and play people in the field. I want somebody that already knows how to do it. Well, why? Well, because it's easier that way. But I got to tell you, even if you have processes, you still got to train them, right? So when I look at having a process that's repeatable and duplicatable and scalable, not based off talent, now what I've got to do is I've got to commit to go train people. But training happens in 3 different ways. Okay, so each of these are equally as important, but each one of them have a different purpose. And that's the part I want to remind you of today. When we look at initial training versus reinforcement training versus refinement training, they're all going to be a little different. And what I mean by that is, if as a new technician or a new CSR or a new dispatcher, I may not know your company's way of doing things. I may be able to do them the way that I know how to do them, but I don't know how to do them your way. I don't know how to do them your company's preferred method. So that's where the initial training comes in. And initial training, by the way, I'll just stop and say, our members, you guys have the benefit of having a technician pathway in your membership. This allows you to hire a new technician and literally on day one start the training process. And that goes back to just really having what we call onboarding, right? So when I say onboarding, when I look at training, and I'm going to share this with you guys, and our members have access to this as well, which is for me, and I'm not going to get in the weeds a lot, but I just want to kind of talk through this. Every position needs this. When I look at week one, what is week one? And I want you to just think for a moment. I want you to ask yourself the question, what does week one in my business look like? Watch this. As a tech. As a salesperson. You ready? As an apprentice. What does week one look like? As a dispatcher. As a CSR. And we've got to clearly define what week one looks like. And for some of us, week one might consist of, you ready? Because I see it all the time. Day one, orientation. Day two, to beyond, field/office. We set them down and expect them to just start absorbing by what they see. And while there is a lot of value and truth to that, we've got to make sure that it's a duplicatable process. So who is it that's responsible for this day two? Now, as a member, you know that we have an onboarding process for your technicians and your CSRs. Go do this, right? Follow this. That becomes the initial. The challenge with initial is people are going to forget about 70% of what you teach them because it's all coming in like a flood. It's just like drinking through a fire hose. And I'm not necessarily, watch this, and this is the difference. When do I go to the field? Well, in my business, I don't know about your business. One, nope. Two, nope. Three, nope. You didn't go into the field until week 4 in my business, doing it by yourself. The phones were a little bit different. But what I had them doing, and this is where I want to show you how the initial training, because what we know is that, you ready? 70% higher retention if I learn and then immediately take action on it. In other words, if I learn a process or I learn a portion of a process and I go do it right away, there is a 70% higher retention rate of the thing that I was trained to do. So when you're looking at your team and you're trying to get better results, let's peel the onion all the way back down and go, hey, and I can share this with you. I had a large company that I was working with on this, and I asked this question, what's the initial training look like? And it was exactly this, orientation and then straight to the field. And I said, well, how in the world would you expect your team to be able to go execute on the KPIs that you're asking them to go do? And he said, and the manager said to me, well, that's where we just start kind of holding them accountable. And I'm like, to what? Well, they've been riding with somebody, but riding is not teaching. Let me say that I'm super passionate about this. Sending someone out to go watch somebody else do it is not teaching. That is, I see, I do, but I don't know how that was broken down into a digestible, repeatable process that I can go do. What I learned is that's how they do it. But if that person that's doing the teaching is not a good teacher, they're not actually teaching a process. What they're teaching is what they do. And there's a certain amount of absorption that happens from that, but it's not going to be as much as you want. So I'm saying this today, initial training is super important. Okay. So for those of you that want to write this down, I want you to write it down. I'm curious, How many people have an onboarding? Open up your chat right now. How many people have an onboarding process that's ongoing that looks similar to something like this for all customer facing positions in the business? It is a documented, no, thank you. Hey, by the way, Chris, thank you to the punch. I appreciate that. Thank you, Bill, for honesty. Yes, week one. Yeah. Oh, hey, Cameron and Kayla, good to have you in as well. Yeah, 1 week. I'm seeing quite a few no's. Quite a few no's are in here. And remember, now we know, right? It's like, so if I'm in this webinar and I'm on the other end of the video and I'm taking notes, I'm going to say, okay, we got to make sure that we have a process that when we onboard people, this is what we do. And I've seen many of the names that came across here. I know your members. It's already done for you as a member. So get with your coach. They're going to help you with that onboarding. Yeah, 2 weeks of riding with another tech. And Jim, once again, and thank you, Brady, for the 2 weeks. Jim, let me echo what I said. 2 weeks of riding with another tech is only teaching what that tech does. And I'm going to just challenge you to think about this for a moment. Do you know if that technician's doing everything the way that Appleton Campbell told them to do it? Or do you hope? Because there's two things that happen in a business. What you believe is going on and what's really going on. And the only way to really know that, and this is what I've always said, I never put any of my team, when I put them in the field, I never put them with my top producing people, because top producing people don't always follow the process exactly. And so what it will end up doing is it can actually be very counterintuitive, because it'll look like, oh, well, this is really easy, because that's what talented top performing people do. They make things look really easy. Like, I don't know, I feel like I could play Michael Jordan foot basketball, but I can tell you, if you put the basketball in my hand and I get on the court, I'm nowhere near as good as Michael Jordan, but he made it look easy. So why can't I do it? And this goes back to just making sure that our team, and I'm going to say this, you owe it to them. You owe it to your team to make sure that they have received the initial training. Now, let me go back to the client that I told you about that I was working with. After we built this onboarding process, he went back through for every single one of his field-based team members, not all together at once, but he started bringing them in waves so that he could train these people to make sure that these people knew exactly what they wanted done as an expectation. Well, that's where, when I think about the initial training, once again, and I want you to write this down. Initial training's purpose is to introduce content. And remember, it'll go in one ear and out the other the first time I hear it. Like, I can only absorb so much. By the way, on day one, you've asked me to fill out my W-2, you've asked me to fill out my contact information, my uniform size, maybe some team profile, you gave me the handbook, you've run me through the ringer. And now you want me to start learning how to do a process? So for us, we just pawn that off on the field. Hey, y'all go out, you just go watch this person do this, and they're going to teach you everything you need to know. And I'm talking to my service managers right now, specifically, my call center managers right now, and my sales managers right now. You got to help them get it right out of the gate so that you don't end up in a situation where you've got people with bad habits that you're mad about. Now, you might say things like, I've told them that already. I've showed them that already. You get frustrated and you want to pull your hair out. Well, that's the reason why we believe in reinforcement training, is because reinforcement training just helps to close the gaps in execution and to correct some bad habits. Let me say that again. Reinforcements training is, and let me just fast forward for a minute, okay? Imagine that you and I are in week 8 of a team. You and I have just joined this new company, and I'm on my 8th week with the company. I've really only had 4 to maybe 6, maybe 7 weeks of opportunity to go out and do. And whether I'm getting the result or not, you got to own it of whether or not they're doing it the way that you prescribed for them to do it, the way that what I'm going to call the company way of doing business, how we run calls, how we answer the phone, how we dispatch, how we run sales calls. Somebody's got to inspect that in the business. And if you're not inspecting it, how in the world would you even know if it's right? Well, I just look at the KPI. If the KPI is right, looks good. Could you potentially have a team member that's flying under the radar and you have not extracted their full potential? As a manager and as a leader in this industry, I'm challenging you today to step up to the plate. I want you to step up to the plate and ask yourself the question, what kind of impact have I made on the people that have came through our door that work directly for me? Is their life better because of that? So now I've got to reinforce it. I got to be able to bring that team member in and make sure they know how to do the things that we've taught them how to do. This is nothing more than just reinforcing the things that they do. This is what we like to refer to at Blue Collar as the show me step, also known as skill practice. I want you to show me. And we're not going to get into that. I hope that at the end that I've got enough time to be able to cover off on that with you, which is skill practice and the ability to actually increase skill above and beyond just you know how to do it, right? I want to show you how you can use skill practice to be able to help reinforce that. And then now, by the way, after I got the reinforcement, I put them back out at it again. And this is not, by the way, this is not a scheduled thing that you do. This is on the schedule through a routine, regular scheduled training program that you conduct for different departments. So if I'm a call center manager and I oversee the call center, I should have a regular scheduled day and time that I stick to. Chris, the phones are ringing off the hook today. We can't train today. Okay, well, what you tell your team is, hey, we only train to help fill time when we're not busy. Chris, it's busy outside. We got to send the team out. They got to go. Well, you got to commit to training, because when you commit to it, you're going to get the results. And I'm going to show you how. But once they've started to be reinforced, this is what we see. I could tell you in some of our academies, we'll have what I call, we chuckle about this, but we call them repeat offenders. And these people will come 2, 3, 4, 5 times to the same class where we teach the exact same content. Why? Because once I've been taught it and I go do it and I've been reinforced on it, sometimes I need to work on it getting refined as well. So after your team has started to execute, performance is consistent, refining it is kind of like maintenance, right? And we'll see team members that come through to us third, fourth, fifth time and be like, is this new? I feel like this is new. And we're like, no, this isn't new. We've been teaching this. You just were in a different spot, and here's how I liken it. Open up the chat really quick, and I'd like for you to type in the name of your favorite life or business book. It can be whatever you want it to be, but something that is intended to be informational. Type in your favorite book. I like to do this because then I find new books I might need to read. But I'd like for you to type it in. Danetta, I heard you say earlier, okay, yeah, there's a Kiyosaki in there, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, great book. See You at the Top, yep. Love that one. Think and Grow Rich, yep. Currently, it's Buy Back Your Time. Okay, I'm interested in that one. I don't know about that one, Andy. Level Up, haven't heard that one. Profit First, yeah. E-Myth, all great books, yes. The One Thing, Dan, interesting. I don't know that I've heard of that one. Beyond the Hammer, okay, thank you, Scott. Power of One More, thank you for that one, Callan. Power of One More. That gives me an opportunity to wet my whistle and come back at you guys. I'm going to ask you a question. The Motivation Manifesto by Brendan Burchard, Built to Last, that's a great one as well. The Advantage. Let me just ask you a question. Do you have that go-to book that you've read more than once? Like sometimes just good books are worth reading again. And I want you, if you could, to ask yourself this question. When I read a book for the second, possibly third, even fourth time, do you ever find yourself reading through something going, I know that this was in here last time, but I don't really remember reading this and hearing it like that? You ever wondered why that is? It has a lot to do with, my friend, that we have what is called a reticular activating system that is built into our brain. And that is like a filter, if you would, the best way I can describe it. Yeah, and thank you. I'm not a fan of reading. Someone asked me the other day, do you enjoy reading? I was like, no, I don't enjoy reading, but it's a necessary evil for my improvement, right? I got to read to get information. Otherwise, I get stuck. But I'm reminded of why my reticular activating system didn't see that the last time I read the book. And this is the reason why. If you're at a different place and time in your life, your RAS is running a different program and it's looking for things that it's seeking to find answers to problems and solutions that you've got going on either in your business or in your life. Maybe you've had a growth moment and you're kind of, hey, I wasn't ready to learn that lesson then, but now I'm in a place where I'm ready to learn that lesson. And so now I can see it and I can hear it and I can digest it. The same is true, my friend, with your team. And this is why you got to refine even top performers, asking them to participate in skill practice and situational training. And I'm going to say this, consistency is the key. And if you're not consistent in your delivery of all three phases, you're going to find that performance decreases. Because when training stops, performance goes down. And I'm going to say you've got to make sure as well that you step up and have the accountability to what's been trained. And the question is the team getting the results you're looking for? If not, then you got to go look at execution. And this is one of the reasons why companies that focus on becoming a good training organization get the very best results. And I'll say that doing the work is what gets results. Hear me out. You're not going to lose weight or build muscle just because you bought a gym pass. That's not how it works. Having a process in your business and not training it's not going to get you results. Having a training process in your business and not holding people accountable is not going to get you results. So we've got to look ourselves in the mirror and ask the question, what part of this can I own? What part of this can I do to get better? Maybe it's, hey, you're right, Chris, we don't have an onboarding, so let me go to work on that. Because, well, hey, Chris, we don't even have a documented process of how we do things. Maybe I need to start there. Chris, we do it, but it's kind of loose. We don't really reinforce it. We don't really hold people accountable. Chris, we don't even really talk about KPIs. All of that is 100% fixable. All of it. It's all fixable. And I want to share how to fix it today. Number one, it starts with the phone. The phone is what sets the tone of everything else in the business. What you do, what you say, and how you do it, and how you say it is important. So I'm going to talk about 3% on the phones. So the first question I ask is, why are people not booking? Well, let me say this, that whatever your conversion rate is, take 40% away from that today. So let me give you an example. John, if you could just highlight me here. Let me give everybody a great example of what I mean by that. Let's say that I am at a 78% booking. Well, I want you to lessen out 40% of that simply because of what I'm about to share with you. 40% of those people out of the 78 are going to book with you. Why? You answered, you were nice, and you were able to get them booked. 40% of people. In other words, if showing up and you can answer the phone and you can be nice on the phone, be nice to people, 40% of people will book with you. So at the floor is 40. The floor of our booking percentage is 40%. Everything I do above there is how good we are at that. And so today, how we can get not just 3%, but in many cases, much higher than that. Well, what are some of the reasons why people don't book? Well, they don't book because of fill in the blank, and it's just an objection. We don't give free estimates. We don't give prices over the phones. It's not a time slot that's available. I couldn't answer all the questions, like all the objections that you're going to get and your team hears over the phone. Well, here at the Blue Collar Success Group, our members know this, that we're big fans of not teaching how to overcome objections, but first let's talk about how to prevent objections. So if you're allow me now, and this is where I told you I was going to teach, don't leave, okay? I'm going to teach a little bit about the phones, and I'm going to just talk through this, okay? So what you're looking at here is what we refer to at the Blue Collar Success Group as Office Champions Academy. Office Champions Academy is the process by which all CSRs, call takers, whatever you call them, this is the process that they follow. It is a 9-step process they follow. I'm going to teach these 9 steps in a very rapid pace. So why would I do that? Well, I want to make sure you know how to go get an extra 3% in the call center. And it's not just go, hey, go do this, overcome this objection. No. So what I want to do now is I want to teach them. In step 1, we talk about checking the mindset. And for those, I'll go back to the poster in just a moment. Members, I want to make sure whether you've been to the class or not, don't fall into the trap of the rookie right here and think like, oh, I already know this stuff. Or more importantly, I'm gonna get all up in your business on this one. You sent somebody to training, but yet you don't really know what was trained. Shame on you. I'm gonna say that again. You write the check, you buy the ticket, you send them to training, but you don't really know what was trained. How in the hell are you going to hold people accountable to something you don't even know what they were trained on? I'm glad you decided to take 2 hours out of your day today, because I'm going to give you a macro level of what the 9 steps of a world-class phone experience looks like. Number 1 is check your mindset. We go in depth about that. CSRs and call takers are on the phone. They need to stop before they answer the next call and reset before answering the phone. You got to make that mandatory. So I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit on coaching here. But in my business, I'm going to give you all some business coaching with this as well. If you stay around, you're going to get some good stuff from us. I made it so that when they hung up the phone in my voice over IP, they hung up, it automatically did not drop them back into the queue. So for those that understand how voice over IP systems work, I can create call groups and I can create a lot of settings with that. And that's a massive opportunity that I don't even have time to talk about today that would literally transform your call center, is if you really knew how to leverage that technology. And if you do, good on you. I want to show you an enhancement to it. Make it so that when your representative hangs up, that they at least get a 2-minute before they got to jump on the next call. Well, Chris, that'll cause us to miss calls. Well, during busy season, dial it back to 1 minute. But what this does, it allows the call taker an opportunity to stop and follow the process, because I can't follow the process if I hang up and then the phone rings again and I grab. So what this is, what we might call is wrap up time, right? I just need 2 minutes to wrap this thing up before my phone will put, or for the system will put me back in the queue to answer the phones. Check your mindset. Number 2, a powerful greeting. It's got to be a standardized greeting that everybody uses when they call the business. It should be enthusiastic. It's painful. It is painful for me to listen to call recordings of people that go, "This is Chris of the Blue Collar Success Group. How can I direct your call?" Honest to goodness, as I sit here at my home address right now, I called and scheduled an appointment with a service provider at my home, and that was how they answered the phone. Guess what? you ain't getting my business. If that's how you treat me on the phone, you're not getting my business. I got passed around the business. Nobody helped me. Enthusiastic greeting, powerful greeting sounds a little something like this. Standardized. Thank you for choosing the Blue Collar Success Group. This is Chris. How can I provide 5-star service? That is a step 2. That's a powerful greeting. Everybody in the business is required to answer the phones just like that. Well, Chris, we don't want to hurt people's feelings and make them feel like they're, they have to follow a script. And sorry, y'all are hearing my little aggravated, upset voice, right? Well, it's like, and I get it. Like, I don't want to. Well, guess what? They need to be told to do this because this is a consistent delivery of a world-class company. And if you want to become a world-class company, you need to have world-class delivery. And the only way to do that is to have a process that you reinforce that's teachable and duplicatable. Step 3. As a part of this step, this takes place throughout the entire call. We call it active listening. Make sure that you're not just listening to the customer, but you're also listening to what's going on in the background. You might be able to observe a few things that might be going on you don't know about. So it's important that they're listening for things, keys and trigger, kids in the background, dogs barking, customers, somebody's yelling. Just figure out what's going on there. Step 4, set the customer at ease and give them assurance that they've called the right place. It sounds a little something like this. Thank you for choosing the Blue Collar Success Group. This is Chris. How can I deliver 5-star service for you today? Customer says, I got this and this and this going on. And I just simply say, I'm so sorry that's going on. I know it can be very frustrating, but you've called the right place. In order for me to get you some help, who do I have the pleasure of speaking to? That is step 4. Then we move into step 5. In step 5, we're gathering the client information. Don't get lost on me and don't leave. Don't get lost and don't leave. Hey, I can see if you leave. Don't leave. We want you here. I want to help you. This is step 5 right here. Just to remind you, check your mindset, powerful greeting, active listening, set at ease, reassurance. Hey, you called the right place. We do this type of work all the time. Gather client information. Now, let me just stop and say, client information is 100% about the client and the home. Separate the two, the job versus the home. During the client information, we gather things like telephone number, email address, parking instructions. Are they the homeowner? What type of property is it? All the stuff that we need about the client. Then we move over. Yeah, somebody must have been feeling the mojo. They're back now, John. They want to come back in. They heard me talking to them. We move into gathering job information. This is where, and I want to caution you here, this is where your CSR, your call taker, oftentimes right out of the gate, will try to dig in deeper on the job information. I want to show you this, okay? Just hear me out. Okay, great. So tell me about the leak. Tell me about the outlet. Tell me about the thermostat. And right out of the gate, if I start doing that, the customer is going to take control of that conversation. Step 3, 4, and 5 is 100% designed to allow the CSR to take control of the flow of the call. That's why we focus and we shift gears. Hey, we do that type of work all the time. You called the right place? Great. So I can make sure I get you some help. What's your name? What's your address? And we talk about this all throughout the class. We don't ask it like that. We've got to do it in a way that's world class. It sounds a little something like this. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to? What's the address of the location we're going to be visiting? What telephone number should we call when we're on the way? This is the type of training that my team needs because these are the little things that take you from 3% better, becoming really excellent at that, right? And so what it allows me to do is right out of the gate, take back the responsibility of servicing the customer. Imagine going into the doctor and being like, Doc, I need to know what's going on with me. Where is it? You got to let the doctor run the process. And so one of the things they do is they follow the process. Let me get your vitals. Everybody knows that. So I now have the ability to take back control of the call by reassuring, redirecting, gather information. Then I can jump into job information. And the job information might be, tell me about that. Okay, great. What bedroom? Now you can start gathering all the information you know that you need to properly service the customer. It's important. I'm a big fan of this. In step 6, after the job information is gathered, I like to make sure that I have used step 3 again, and I now, in step 3, am repeating back in the customer's words what I have just now documented. Ashley, as I understand it, you've got an outlet that's not working in your master bedroom, and that is on the main floor. Is that correct? Okay. That's step 6 mixed with step 3, active listening with gathering job information. In step 7, I'm going to remind you guys of this when we move to step 7. This is important. Set the appointment, the day and the time. And it doesn't sound like this. What day works best for you? As soon as you do that, you have now passed the baton, and the customer is now going to be in charge. This is super important because of what I'm going to teach you in just a few minutes. We will only provide the appointments that we need to fill on our board. Now, if none of those work, then we may start to look for alternative dates. So I say something like this. Imagine it is, I don't know, 5:50 East Coast, and someone just called in, and I say, I have really great news. I have an available appointment tomorrow morning between the hours of 10 and 12. Should I go ahead and secure that appointment for you to make sure it doesn't get gone? Oh, great. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to get, hear me out, I'm trying to get all of the details out of the way, everything that needs to happen. Remember this, okay? I want you to remember this. Price is the lid to the value bucket. The moment that I reveal price, nothing I can do can build value after that. The decision is made based off of that. What builds value is what I say and what I do. Now that I've got all the information, I know everything about the home, I know everything about the job, I've now even got an appointment in the books. Now I move into step 8. Step 8 might sound a little something like this, and this is what we teach in the class. And just for the record, this is a 3-day class. I can't teach it all in this short amount of time, but I wanted to give you a snippet because we're talking about increasing 3%. If you sent people to Office Champions Academy, now you know to go back and be like, hey, yo, I just learned that we should be doing this, 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 and this, and we're not doing any of that stuff. Here's just a massive opportunity in the business for you to up-level your team. Sounds like this. Great, Ashley. So let me share with you what you can expect on the day of the appointment. We're going to be sending out one of our qualified technicians to your home. They're going to be driving one of our company marked vehicles in one of our uniforms. Once they arrive, they're going to take a look at the work that you're requesting, and they're going to give you a price in writing up front before they begin any work. Now, with your approval, they will be prepared to go ahead and get started with the job. Most jobs can be completed same day. Once we're complete with the job, you would be responsible for payment. We take cash, check, and all 4 major credit cards. Which one will you be using? Perfect. That is the value build. That's what it sounds like. Now, that's when we move into step 9. So and by the way, you ready for this? I'm going to wrap all this together for you. Let me now give you step 8 with the last part of that. If your company charges to go out, this is where it gets inserted in step 8. Let me share with you what you can expect on the day of the appointment. We're going to be sending out one of our qualified technicians. They're going to be arriving in a company vehicle. They'll also have on a company uniform. Once they're on site, they'll take a look at the work that you're requesting to be done. Before they perform any work, they're going to give you a price up front in writing before they begin any work. With your approval, they'll be prepared to go ahead and get started. Most jobs can be completed same day. Once they're complete, you would be responsible for payment. We take cash, check, and all 4 major credit cards. Which one would you be using? Okay, great. I'll make note of that. To send the technician out, we do have a small fee of only $79. Now, I've got you booked for tomorrow between the hours of 10 and 12. We're going to call you on this number, and this is the address that we're arriving at. Is that correct? And all of that becomes the seamless part of the value build of step 8. That is step 9. Now, that's the call taking component. I'm going to stop and ask the question now. Open up your chat. How close is that to what's going on in your business today? What percentage of those 9 steps do you think that your team is following? Not what they should be. Good, Travis. Good. 50. Brady, good. 50. iPhone 3, 0. Shannon, 80. Chris, 50. Really close. Danetta, yeah, I know you guys as well. Cameron, 90. James, 70 to 80. All right, cool. Here's the magic. 25. Thank you, Eric, for being honest about that. I really appreciate that. Here's what I want you to do. You ready? Yeah, good point. Years ago, we said the dispatch fee and then tried to build value. Your version's much more successful. Imagine that. Thank you, Brandon. Once again, thank you, Brandon, for saying that, because that validates exactly what I said. This is not something that we heard about. This is real life application. This is what I use to be able to build my business. Here's what I want you to do now. You ready? Okay. Yeah, I like that, Les. I've been answering the phone. Some changes are coming. So let me share with you what you can do that would be very beneficial for you to validate if what number you typed in is actually really happening. You ready? So watch this. Per week, per agent. You ready? If you can, at minimum, 1, but I prefer 3. 3 is the magic number. Per week, per agent, and they cannot be simultaneously, or I'm going to say back to back. Go listen to 3 booked calls and ask yourself the question, is my team following the 9 steps? Because Chris told me that 40% of people would book just because I answered the phone and we were nice. They booked with us. So really what I'm trying to find out is the 38% that are booking, are we actually following the process? And I'm going to tell you this, most of the time it doesn't happen. And I'm just being real with you. I'm not trying to discredit anybody's numbers. I'm just telling you, if I were to remote into your business today and I started listening to these calls and I've got 3 CSRs, that means I listened to 9 calls. The question is, how frequently did we follow the process? Well, most of the time, because we booked it, we don't even go listen to it. So, because that's a waste of time. We booked the call. But what we're going to find out is, are we truly following the process? Then we're going to find not booked. Same process. And I'm just going to make note. What are the things that we're not doing? Are we not following it in order? Are we trying to value build and then gather information? Because sometimes getting the steps out of order is kind of like trying to make a cake. You don't put the flour and all the stuff in the cake and then stick it in the oven, then pull that out and then mix it up. You wouldn't have a cake. You got to mix it up before you put it in the oven. Then, you ready? And this is good. Non-opportunities. 3 non-opportunities, because I want to know, how did my customers get treated when they called in when they were not trying to book an appointment? And this is more of just an opportunity. So for those on, if you're not doing this, I highly recommend it. This is how you build a high-performing call center. And I'm not trying to brag and tell you that I've arrived, but this is why I built a call center. And I actually had other people that I was answering their phones for them as well, because we were so damn good on the phones, because we understood what it takes to be successful in a call center. And here's the deal. You ready? It's just inside sales. It's not booking a call. It's inside sales. So let's move on to the next part. The role of the dispatcher, right tech, right call, dispatch for dollars, whatever it is that you call it. Empty the call board as profitably as possible. And my question is, are you doing this today? Type it in the box if that is your plan, not first in, first out, or any of that. And I would suspect that when we do this correctly, that we're probably rescheduling a lot. We're probably rescheduling a lot, because I'm going to show you in a moment how that would be if we truly are following the process. Type it in right now if you feel like you're doing that today. Actually, let me give it to you. I'm gonna make it super. And thank you, Chris. How about on a scale of 1 to 5? A 1 is we're not even close to it. A 5 is we execute this very well. That will allow you to grade it, not just yes or no. Okay, good on you, Brandon. 4. Shane, I got a 2. I got some 3s in the house. I got a 4. Sal, good to see you. Greg, good to see you. A 4. iPhone 3, a 1. Thank you for that. Um, any other takers? How well? Y'all participate. Don't just sit. I'm not a talking head. Yeah, 1, a 3, a 3. Yeah, now we're talking, right? 2, all progress begins by telling the truth. A 4, a 3, a 4. All right. It's really made a big difference. Thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate that. Yeah, it will. It will make a massive difference in the business. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to talk to you about the system for a moment. And when I say dispatching is a system, it's teachable, it's scalable, and it's duplicatable. Okay. Because I can't have it that when my dispatcher is out, sick, or whatever, whoever fills in for them, the board's going to be a shit show that day. We know what, you know what I'm talking about, right? Can I get a witness on that one, right? You're like, hey, if that dispatcher's out, we're dead in the water. Whoever fills in. My team knows it. This not the regular dispatcher because they're running all over town, and like we know. But I want to say this: that getting someone on the schedule is super important. How we get them, how we deliver a qualified person to their home is equally as important. And if you follow the 9 steps, you then can follow the 3 keys of connecting a world-class phone experience to the ultimate client experience, okay? And here's what that looks like. Here are the 3 keys. Number 1 is a call priority matrix. And I'm just going to give you an idea of what a call priority matrix is and what that looks like. John, if you want to hook me up, thank you for that. I appreciate that. A call priority matrix takes 2 things into account. Number 1 is job type. Job type. Okay, that's the first thing. The next thing is age. This is super important as well. And what I'm going to show you is that many of you have so many job types, it doesn't even matter because the job types don't tell you anything at all about the business. It tells you 0 about the business. So what I would propose today is that you narrow down your job types depending on your industry and depending on trade, 7 to 12 at the very most, right? And if you want to get really basic, you can go repair, maintenance, replace if you wanted to. And keep in mind, this is the inbound call based on what the customer is telling you that their request for service or sales is, then we bucket it based on that. Then there's something that goes with it that is an age, and it's kind of like a chart almost, right? And so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and what this allows us to do, you ready? It's called a call priority matrix. And what this allows me to do is take, because not every job type that is listed here based on age is automatically a 1 all the way down. Sometimes, depending on the age, that same job type may be a 3 where that age is a 1 on the other job type. And I'll give you an example of that. If I'm going to go run, I'm going to be a plumbing company for a minute, and I'm going to go run a call for a leaky water heater. And you might go, that's a high priority call, and I understand that for a moment. But what if the water heater was in a house that was 40 years old versus it was in a house that was 12 years old? Do you see the massive difference in opportunity? Because when I go run the 40-year-old call home, I should say, I'm going to find things because of my process of how we run service calls. So because of that, what I'm really doing is I'm putting the best tech on the best call in a systematized way that takes all guesswork out of it. That's where we move into step 2. Now I'm going to talk about, or I'm sorry, key 2. Key 2 is nothing more than a technician legend where I've got all of my techs listed out. And I have a yes, a can, and a no. So, and by the way, for those of you guys that don't know this, some of this can be built into your software automatically. And ask your blue collar coach how to do this, and we can help you with that. But Tech 1, let me just give you an example. Maybe they're a junior tech and they can't run everything that comes into the business. And because they're a junior tech, I say, hey, I'm going to let you run call priorities 1 and 2, no 3s, no 4s, and no 5s. Tech 2, a little bit more seasoned. Maybe they're going to run 2s and 3s. They can run a 4, but I never let them run a 5 or a 1. And why is the reason why a 5 and a 1? Because I don't want to put a seasoned tech on a call that doesn't have good opportunity on it. It's a waste of resources. So from here, I might have another tech 3, that I put over here, yes, 4 and 5, and then over here, 3, 2, 1. No, and nothing here. It doesn't mean just because you got a can that they can. Now, I'm going to couple this with members. Hear me out. This is where your scorecards come into play. And your scorecards, based on having a technician level 1, 2, and 3, your KPIs adjust based on that. That also opens up the ability for your team members to then go, hey, when I'm having my one-on-one, we're talking about measurable performance, and I say, hey, Callan, you've been doing a really good job, man. Your close rate and your average ticket's really been going up, and I'm very proud of you. What I'd like to do is, and let's just say that Callan is this tech 2 right here, okay? Callan is no longer going to be running 2s and 3s, can run a 4, no 5s and 1s. What I'm going to do is say, hey, Callan, I'm actually going to take the 2s off of you, and I'm going to put it over here in this, and I'm going to move the 5 to here as well. And now I want you running 4s and 3s. You can run a 5 and a 2, but I'll never want you running a 1. What do you think is going to happen to Callan's confidence now? His confidence goes up because he's getting better. Now he's getting rewarded. If I've got a performance-based pay in my business, which, by the way, let me just stop and say, everything that we teach in blue collar is a system, all of it. And the moment that you start, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this like this. Diluted system, diluted results. We don't have scorecards. Well, then this isn't going to be a major part of what you do. You've got to be able to bring this to life. And here's what we hear this all the time. Well, the only reason why they outperform me is because they get to run all the good calls. And then we go, that's BS. Everybody runs great calls, and every call that we go on is a great call, and blah, blah. Hey, I've been a service manager before. I know the routine. That was before I understood this. And I was like, aha. Now I can stand in front of my team and say, hey, Callan, you're a technician level 2 right now. And what that means for you is this. Here's where your performance is. If you do this, this, and this, I can move you to a technician level 3, and I can start getting you the opportunity to run these bigger and better calls. Now I don't have to hide behind it. And let me just say this, in a football locker room, everybody knows who's QB1. There's no question about it. And QB2's not mad because I don't ever get to start the game. QB3 rides the pony so the bench so much, he's wondering, he never warms up, right? Everybody knows where they're at. Good pecking order here. And by the way, let me say this. This creates visibility in your business, and visibility can be massive opportunity. So I'm going to get off the high horse. That's where we go into key 3. And this is where the magic really all starts to happen. It starts to unfold. You heard me say this earlier, and what I said earlier was around the process of how I book the call. I'm asking the job type, I'm asking the age of the home and the age of the equipment. This allows me to then take the call and quantify it to a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 based on the call priority. And I've had people that join blue collar and they're like, well, we added a 6th one. And I'm like, but why? 5 wasn't good enough for you? You got to add a 6th one? No, don't mess with the system. You don't need to do that. But step 3 is where it comes into play. And what I mean by that is, imagine this. We call it the 100 75, 50 concept. Now, the way that that works is very simple. On a call board of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, imagine that I've got 10 techs and max capacity is 4 calls a day. That is now 40. 75% of that would be 30 calls. This is 100, by the way. This is 75. And 50 would be 20 calls. Now, what this allows me to do is to prioritize my job schedule so that I'm not so busy that I don't have the flexibility to take same day service. And more importantly, because I know this happens in your business, a technician sells a job, a good one. They call dispatch and say, hey, I was just, and dispatch like, we're busy. You ain't got time to do that. We got to schedule that call. What? So the dispatcher is now deciding when we install revenue and when we don't? That's not their responsibility, not even close to the scope of work they do. We sell today, we install today. That's what we do. Well, Chris, what if we need parts? We install everything that we can install today, and we'll order the part. That way we can come back. And that's a whole nother bowl of soup that we can sit down and unwind one day. But now what this allows me to do, today is Wednesday. So on Wednesday, my job is to run that 100% capacity or to run the 40 calls. Now, not all calls, and this is why you got to take the class. I can't answer everything, but it's based on time, really. Time windows and amount of time that we set aside to plan. Today, before I walk out of the building, we need 30 calls on the board. And more importantly, all of them are out of the 30, all first calls need to be filled. I can't have a technician walk in the door or a salesperson walk in the door and not have a call to run tomorrow. And I don't want to hope and pray that the phone rings overnight or like, no, this is the intention. For Friday, I should have no more than 20 calls on the board. I don't care if first calls are filled. Now watch this. Tomorrow morning, today's the end of the day, we walk in tomorrow morning. Now I only need to get us to the 100% or plus 25%. It gives me tons of flexibility to move schedule. If a technician goes to a first call, sells out the day, I'm not stressed out trying to figure out what we're going to do with all these calls. And that's when dispatchers start saying things like, nope, I'm going to need you to go ahead and go run this next call. Nope, we're not doing that. We're going to install today because I've got flexibility. In addition to that, if somebody this afternoon doesn't finish a job and they're like, hey, I need to go back tomorrow, now I've got flexibility in the schedule. And more importantly, you ready? I can now take same day appointments for higher priority jobs. So if a 4 or a 5 comes in, I don't have to say, I got to figure out what to do. Yeah. So now I can have the ability to say that someone that has a lower priority call, and I'm going to go there. Well, what if I piss that customer off and I reschedule and they cancel? It was a 1 and you're trading a 1 for a 4. What's wrong with an upgrade, right? And I hate to say this, but my job is to service customers at the highest ability that I have. And yes, I committed to saying that we would get an appointment for you tomorrow, but some things have changed in the business. And this is where you, as an owner or a manager, you got to get okay with that. And if you can't get okay with that, then you do you. Don't listen to what I'm telling you to do. You just go do you. But remember, you're going to get what you've always got. This is literally, you heard Brandon, this has transformed their business. It's made a really big difference. And that's where the call board comes in, because now, today, I'm only focusing on getting the 25% today, and I'm only focusing on getting 25% tomorrow. So every day, I'm not scrambling to find it. In my business, around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if we're not getting close to this 75%, somebody better pick up the phone and start outbounding. You better not wait till 5 o'clock in the afternoon to try to find appointments for tomorrow, because it just simply ain't gonna happen. It's too late. If I'm looking at a 5-day call board, which tool we have, by the way, I also need to take into account for temperatures and things of that nature, because I know we're going to get really busy. So I might not have a bunch of 1s on the board for Friday because we're expecting really, really low temperatures as a plumber or HVAC company. Base it based on the priority. And this goes back to what I just shared with you, which is a system. It's the 3 keys to connecting the world-class phone experience to the ultimate client experience. Now watch this. I'm just going to ask you to open your chat and ask, would your business be better if this was all you did? Right now, type it in the box. If you believe you just did those 2 things, that your business would be better. Winner, winner, steak dinner. All right. 100%. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Absolutely. Right. So that's why you're here. Now you've got some bits and pieces that you can go back and help implement in the business. Your business can be better. But now watch this. Remember, because I said booking rate, right? And thank you, Donetta. Yeah, it changes things massively when you do this. Les, I'm going to come back to that one. Need to grow a little bit first, and if you'll hang around at the very end, I'm going to take some off the cuff questions, and I'm happy to help. And I got Les Bowman on this, and I hope that's the name. That's what I got chatted in, Les Bowman. Let me just make a statement. This is not meant in any negative or derogatory way, but you'll never become something that you don't start acting like. So I hear a lot, wait until I get big enough, then I can do that. It'll be harder once you get bigger. It'll be more difficult because then you got to wrangle all the cats in. So go ahead and start looking at what parts of these processes can I go ahead and implement now? Because then as I grow, it opens up. It's the chicken or the egg, right? And it's like, if I go build these processes, then I've got duplicatable systems. I hope that helps you for that. And remember, I'm just here to help. I'm not here to hurt. I'm not here to discredit and make people feel bad. I want better for you. I want more for you. So now let's talk about running the call. Typically, when we run the call, we measure through 2 numbers, close rate and average ticket. There are additional KPIs that are important, and there's other KPIs that actually lead to these numbers. But even as a smaller business or a mid-sized business or a large business, you can't deny that these 2 numbers are important no matter how big your business is, no matter how many technicians you have. These are 2 important numbers. So what I want to do now is I want to talk to you about a world-class phone experience. And then we said in the last, we're connecting the world-class phone experience to the ultimate client experience. Now, this is the ultimate client experience. This is how we run service calls, our technicians. In step 1, surprise, surprise, check the mindset. Making sure that our team is reviewing their short-term goals and long-term goals before they do that. That's a whole process, goal setting. We teach that in the Professional Tech Academy. Step 2 is really about checking your appearance, making sure that I look good top to bottom, and I don't want to get into every little detail there, but making sure that I look the part, because you can't not look the part if you're a premier company in your market, meaning that if you charge premier pricing, you can't be sending people in that look like they just crawled out from under a rock. You can't be sending people that don't look professional. Carpet and shoe covers, make sure those things get to the door, and how we do that, we teach that in the class. Step 4, we talk about knocking on the door and stepping back. Ringing if there's a doorbell, ringing the doorbell. If there's a camera doorbell, we want to ring that. We teach things like don't get down, but don't be so far back. Don't turn your back. There's super important things. Making sure our team has a business card, introduction and business card. Verifying the reason for the call. It sounds a little something like this. Hi, my name's Chris with the Blue Collar Success Group, and you are? Nice to meet you, Ashley. How can I help today? Oh gosh, that sounds horrible. I'm sorry that's going on. I'm glad that I'm here. I'm going to be able to take care of that. Can you show me where it's at? Great. My truck parked okay? Okay. Let me put my floor savers on. Would that be all right? So now I'm in the home, and I'm going to move into step 7, where we talk about setting the table and having clarity questions. There's a series of questions that we ask and we teach. We teach between steps 7 and 8. We talk about 4 general questions. Number 1, how's the home? Number 2, how long have you lived here? Number 3, what type of maintenance do you perform? Number 4, when and what was the last repair? We move into 4 specific questions. What's going on? When did you notice this? What caused you to notice, and when would you like to have the repair made? We teach our technicians now to repeat back that information and then ask a follow-up question just to make sure I understand what's going on. You notice this, 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 and this, and you like to have the repair made today. Yes, great. All right, well, let me share with you, and this is where in step 8 we move to the setting of an agenda, telling our customer what they can expect from us today. What can they expect from me? This is where I set the agenda to make sure that there's no surprises. This is where I let them know about the evaluation or the diagnostic or however you call that, right? Whatever you call that in your business. And then from there, I'm going to let them know about the inspection as well, that I'm going to be doing one. We're not going to do, hey, would you like for me to perform a free inspection? Should I perform a complimentary inspection? No, I don't. We don't use it that way. As a professional, I have to assume the responsibility that if I'm in the home, I can't send you out because you came in to get your alternator on your car looked at, and I send you out on bad brakes, or I sent you out with a leak in your radiator hose. I can't do that. That is bad service. And I'm telling you. Now what happens when the good tech comes in and identifies it, they look like the salesperson, and they're not. The salesperson was the first one, and they did a crappy job at it. Okay, I'll settle down. I'm sorry. You can see I'm super passionate about this because delivery of service in the home, if we do everything right on the phones, we do everything right to get the right technician there, but we don't deliver, this leads to poor quality service. Poor quality service translates into poor online reviews, no repeat business, bad customer sentiment, all the things that we know come along with that. In step 8, we're going to direct, discover, and deliver. In step 9, we're going to do 3 options. And we at the Blue Collar Success Group believe in it. 3 options. I know that, yes, you could build 6 or 8, and there's other organizations out there that may have taught you need to do 6. Let me just say this. Only high-performing salespeople have the ability to go beyond 3. That's why we do 3, because it's duplicatable. You know what? Actually, Callan, let me check and see. I think you're a pretty good salesman. You can offer 6 options. Jim, sorry, man, you're not that great. I'm going to have to ask you to stick to 3. Now what I've got is 2 different standards in the business, and that's not scalable. Standard, 3 options, delivery, solution-based. Let me say this. Option 1 cannot be a panel. Option 2, a ceiling fan. Option 3, a surge protector. Option 1 is a water heater. Option 2 is a toilet. Option 3 is a new faucet. Option 1 is a new thermostat. Option 2 is a new cap. Option 3 is a surge protector. And all 3 of those trades, those are not options. Those are items. It's got to be a solution for the reason why they called you with all the other stuff in it, the inspection items. But the solution's got to be built so that this is the peace of mind. And then I've got a little less of that and a little less of that. Now, we teach this in the Professional Tech Academy extensively. We teach this through profit-driven training continually. The presentation's super important. I'm going to give you a little nugget today for those that are on. You ready? I'm going to give you something maybe you haven't heard in a while, and this will be worth attending today. No matter how your software is, even if you're not on software and you use paper, after you built your options, and I did this in the old days on paper. So when I presented my options, I had my prices written down, and I used a piece of paper to cover up the prices. Because I know as soon as I present price, the lid is on the value bucket, and I'm done. So I simply review the 3 options with the customer. I look at the customer and I say, which one of these makes the most sense for you? Or which one would you like for me to go ahead and get started for? Which one of these should we get an install set up for? Which one of these should I get started on? Which one of these is best for you? Not, so what do you think? Does this look good? That is not a closing question. It's got to be a closing question. Hear me out. And the customer is going to look at it. And here's what's going to happen 99% of the time. You ready? People are so predictable. Well, I guess, Chris, it depends on how much this is. And then I reply with, is that the only question that you have? And they say, yeah, now I can reveal price. Because what I've just done is I've isolated every single objection and boiled it down to one. It's just about money now. Now we believe in leading with payments, and there's a whole nother financing opportunity here for you and your team on repairs and replacements. And that's where we move into step 10. We just verify and authorize. I just need to get an approval right here and I can go ahead and get started. I need an approval here. I can go ahead and get you on the schedule. In step 11, they actually do the thing that they signed up to get in the trade for. They get to work with their hands. 11 steps into a 12-step process. It's not a lot of work, but it's duplicatable, repeatable. That's going to get you results, and customers are going to be raving fans of yours. In step 12, we teach the technician how to ask for a review. If you've ever been in the class that I've taught, or you've ever been around Chris at all, when it comes time to ask for reviews, here's how I work. And I'm going to say this. Hey, Ashley, I just want to take an opportunity to say thank you so much for allowing me to be your electrician today. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure. One of the ways that my company knows that I've done a great job is by providing an online review. Now, what I don't want you to do, Ashley, is tell my company that I did a bad job and not tell me that I did a bad job. Ashley, is there anything today that would have hindered you from giving me a 5-star in my service? Okay, because if not, I'll fix it now. Perfect. So actually, my company actually recognizes me for a job well done. And one of the only ways they know it's a job well done is if my name is in the review. And then I slide my card over again and say, once again, my name is Chris. I would consider it a personal favor for you to leave me an online review with my company. Boom. I've got more reviews than I've ever had before. Now what I'm doing is I've got a repeatable, duplicatable, scalable process in my business with the 12 steps to the ultimate client experience. Once again, it's 3 days of teaching your team. I can't teach it all, but now you know what your team should be doing in the field. And I just ask this question when it comes to that. We're talking about 3%. That's all we're talking about. I want you to open up the chat really quick. I know for some of you it's getting late. Yeah, my stomach told me it was hungry too. We're going to get out of here for those of you guys that are on the East Coast. What I want to know is, when you open the chat, is if you had these processes that were implemented and trained the 3 ways, right? The 3 different types of training, and that you had systems in place to hold people accountable to the thing that they need to do, type in what percentage of result you think you would increase. I'm telling you at minimum 3. What number do you think you would get? What percentage better do you think you would get? Minimum at 5. Thank you for that. 100%. Thank you, Derek. Much more than 3. 15 to 20. Probably more than 10. 50%. 10%. Look at all this opportunity that's just sitting around right now for us that you and I are looking, going, hey, and yeah, thank you, Bill. Training this every week. That's powerful, man. That's super powerful. At least double. Thank you, Chris. More than 50%. So Darby, I just showed you a way to grow the business 50%, right? 20 to 25, 15 to 50, more than 10, at least 6, 25 to 30. Here's the sum. The question that we got to ask is, what truly is possible when I tap into my true potential as a leader, as a manager? Imagine that you and your team and what they're really capable of. I want you to think about what's possible. And now that you start thinking about what's possible, immediately what's going to happen is you're going to start saying things like, okay, but what about? And I want you to just type in the box right now. Yeah, we can easily do 50% if we reinforce and refine our process. Thank you, Meg, on that. 100%. And that's we're a big believer in that. Not only do we help your team with the process, we also help you with the reinforcement of, like, how do we hold it accountable? What do I need to do to make sure it's happening? I showed you guys today on the call center. That's just one way, by the way. There's multiple ways. But I want to ask you this question right now. I want you to type this in the box. What realistically, not unrealistically, because I know there's unrealistic things that can happen that can hold you back, but I want you to think long and hard for a minute. What do you think would hold you back or stop you from doing what we talked about today? Type it in the box. I want to know what you feel is a barrier for yourself. Yeah, Bill, that's 100%. That's so good, man. Not being committed. Danetta, working in the business. I'm so busy, I can't get it. Yeah. Fear, lack, or effort. Yeah. Right seats, wrong people. Wow. Thank you for that, Michael. I appreciate that. All day clutter. Yeah, right. That's right. So, I mean, it gets to us. Other team members not buying in. Yeah. And that goes back to selling the team on it, right? Excuses is what they all sound like, right, Chris? Fear, probably a person or two. Yeah. And I would say that, and for Chris, let me say this really quick. You said fear, probably a person or two. Remember this. It's hard for the sun to shine when there's dark clouds. Let that sink in for a minute and imagine that the sun's shining on your business, but potentially you could have a few team members that are the dark clouds that cause it to be partly sunny, right? And so when we either get those clouds to stop producing rain or we just move them on into another area. And I'm not a fan of just firing people. Like I want to give people an opportunity. Busy to train someone. Yeah, that would get in the way. Discipline, team member buy-in, employee acceptance, no barriers working on signing up now. Great. Letting daily issues get in the way. You're right, Mike. That 100% will happen if you're not very like focused on what you're going to do. Consistent implementation. We hear that all the time. Yeah, good job on you, Andy. Yeah, making sure the sales manager's trained on how to manage this. So I'm duplicating myself in the business. That's really good. Shane, time. Yeah, still working on the business more than on it. We hear it a lot, right? Not being on the A game. Weeded out most of the people that don't believe in the process. Brandon Farr, my friend, great student of the game, I should say. Still on tools. Need more calls to get more texts and less working to implement these as you grow as well. And unless I'd say I know exactly where you're at right now. I do. I know exactly where you're at. And the question is for you, who is it that you want to be in the business? And if you want to be that business owner, getting more calls is definitely strategy built in. And unless I'm happy to take a call with you to kind of talk you through how we can help you with that, give you some ideas. Wow. Chris, you kind of feel like you suck at training other people. That's pretty interesting thought. Most of the time people think they're pretty good at it. I'm pretty good at training people. And so you're saying I kind of suck at it. And so maybe it might be, Chris, that you're not the person that needs to be training. And so sometimes leaning and leveraging other team members. What I have found is sometimes team members learn better from other team members. So Chris, be looking, is there somebody in the business that you could help elevate by helping teach them how to teach what you want them to know? And then 100% recruiting. So I want you to think for a moment, ask the question, what doesn't make sense? What doesn't make sense to you? In other words, what do I need to do today to create clarity for you? If you're clear on this, no need to type in. If you're not clear on the 3 systems that we talked about today, I want to know about it. I want to know how I can help you with it. So if you've got a question, I want you to go ahead and type it in right now. And then I'm going to take those questions at the very, very end. We're coming down to the very end right now as we speak. The first thing that I think that it really needs to start with is a belief. Believing that I'm good enough, believing that I'm capable of doing it. And I'm not trying to go out of left field, but a lot of times we have a lack of belief in ourselves. We kick our own butts, and you don't need to do that anymore. I'm telling you, you don't need to be living in the past. Today is today. Don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about the previous week. Everything starts again now, right? Tomorrow, I'm going to set good intentions. And remember, I don't try to eat the elephant by myself. Most of the time people say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I'm like, no, I'm tired of eating elephants. Why do I even have an elephant? Here's what I want. If I got an elephant in front of me, in other words, if I got a massive task in front of me right now, I'm not going to try to tackle it a little bit at a time. I'm going to say, hey, who can I enlist that'll help me eat this elephant? Who will come help me? And it goes back to belief. It goes, maybe I've tried this before, team didn't buy in. I tried to make these changes and people, were grumpy about it. Like, you just gotta, you gotta make sure that you decide who it is that you really want to be. And I would share with you that when you decide who you want to be, you'll know what you need to do. And I want to just remind you that you're going to make a decision today. Either the decision will be the decision to decide, or it'll be the decision not to decide. And either one of those is still a decision. So why not stack the odds in your favor? You're either going to commit to the path that you're on right now, and you're going to keep doing the same thing you've always done. And I'm just going to ask, like, Are you going to change the course of the direction of your business, or are you going to land in the Hudson Bay? If your destination is, whatever revenue or whatever profit or whatever number of team members, I mean, you got to decide. 3% makes a big difference. And I want you to remember this, that time is the equivalent of the distance that the plane is traveling. In other words, let's all look at the screen for a moment. That's distance from Sarasota to San Diego. You're not in a distance, you're in a time component, which means that every day that you delay is every day that you're 3%, 5%. Some of you typed as high as 50 and 75% off course right now. That's what you said. Yeah. Hey, good joke, Chris. Right now, we ended up in the Hudson Bay. We might have less snow. We actually don't have snow in Sarasota. I'm a little further south, but the Panhandle got hammered with snow. But good point though. That's real. It's very wise of you, Chris. I appreciate the comment there. But I want you to understand that if you correct that 3% right now, you're going to end up where you want to be, adding that extra $500,000. But I want to share with you that there's an opportunity to make a shortcut. How many people like to shortcut stuff? Legally, by the way, legally, let me say that legally. I'm not trying to cheat, right? It's not cheating if it's inside the rules. Give me a thumbs up in the emoji if you like to make things happen faster than time allows usually. Anybody like, heck yeah, who doesn't want to, hey, who doesn't want to turbocharge or a supercharge something, make things happen a little faster. I'm all about shortcutting and making things happen as fast. And by the way, Robin, it's good to have you on as well. I'm glad you're here. When we think about faster, if there was a faster way to get results, and I didn't share that with you, I would be doing you a disservice for the last hour and a half that you've shared with us. Everything that I've taught you today, you have 100% the ability to go do yourself. Okay. If you've seen any of our social media ads as a non-member and you see the 12 steps to the ultimate client experience, that's the poster. It's available to you. Members, you have no excuse. The only excuse that you have that I'm going to let you off the hook on is I'm brand new. Okay. For those that have been around a while, you know this stuff. This is not new for you. Execution is the key. So what I want to do is I want to show you about this opportunity. Okay. All of our classes, we ended up, this is the reason why, by the way, we ended up with extra inventory that we did not sell at our last event. And so because of that, this is now going to be a massive opportunity for you. You're not going to see this any better. But what I'm proposing to you today is an opportunity to shortcut and get better results. Thank you, Chris, taking folks to Phoenix. Good for you. Let me share with you what we're looking at. Don't get lost in the words and all the stuff, but it's going to be at 40% off. Everything I'm going to show you is going to be at 40% off. Office Champions Academy is where we teach how to answer the phones, and it's done virtually. Nobody has to get on a plane. It is a per seat. I've got 31 seats left for that class. We added a class because we oversold it. So now I got some extra inventory. I need to be able to have somewhere to put the extra people in. And our promise is if we can add the extra class on the schedule, we're going to. That's why there's so many left. The same is true for Dispatch Champions. Now that class almost sold out. I only have 7 seats left there. No more. The Outbound Champions, of which I did not talk about, which is everything I just showed you in those processes, same concept, but this is we're going to teach your team how to start outbounding for dollars. I got 33 seats left in that class. The Professional Tech Academy, which is located in the top right-hand corner. In Tampa, for those dates, I only have 3 seats left. March was a class we added in Phoenix, 22 seats left. April in Tampa, 12 seats. April in Phoenix, added a class, 26 seats left. So because we added inventory, I wanted to be able to come to you guys today to help shortcut what you're looking for. The Sales Specialist Academy is the class where we teach your salespeople and selling techs how to run big ticket calls because they don't get ran the same way as a service call. 3 seats left and 11 seats left. You can see this. Management Growth Academy, absolute game changer. 28 seats left. There's the dates. Call by Call Clinic is a lot of buzz, by the way. I was doing that 13 years ago in my business. Me and Jeremy sat down, we put this content and class together, and now there's 24 seats left. It is virtual. Any classes that are virtual, you'll see it says virtual, and if not, it's not virtual. It's in person, and there'll be the city of which it's there. If you need to screenshot that, you can do that. Thank you, Robert, for hopping in today as well. Here's the cool part. A ticket is $24.97, but because you were here today, we're told you we're going to give you that discount of 40%, giving you $998.80 off for a new discounted investment of $1498.20. Now, what that means for you is that not only is the class discounted for you because I've got the inventory I need to move, I'm also going to give you an option to not have to pay for it all right now. I'm going to give you a 2-pay option, so it's $749.10 a month for 2 months. You take the class, boom, thank you, right there. And I'm going to let you know, Daniel, I'm going to show you where to get that because some of that inventory, listen, we open this inventory up because you're in the webinar, you're going to get first shake at it. I highly recommend don't wait around. Like literally as soon as I give you next instructions, go do what you got to get done, okay? Because the inventory will go. I tell people all the time, this ain't no sales pitch. I'm just telling you reality. They feel fast. And I don't want you standing on the outside having to wait till next season because then you're waiting again for that 3%. But here's the deal. And I'll come back to that question on iPhone 3. Yes. The blue collar selling system, any of those classes, sale ends January 31st at midnight. If I was a high pressure sales guy, I'd have told you, you got to buy it right now. That's not how I work. I'm here to help. I'm not here to hurt you. Do I believe that if I made a shorter time window that it'd cause you to act fast? Yeah. And it probably would have left a bad taste in some of your mouths as well because you didn't have time. It's the afternoon. Why are you making me? I want to give you time to make the decision. But I will tell you, the longer you delay, the more likely it is that you won't get what you're looking for. So what I want you to do, John's dropping it in the chat right now. You're going to go to bluecollarlive.com. There's the link. And all of the classes are in there with the dates, and it'll show you if they're filled up or not. If they're full, sorry, it's not available. Don't call, don't text. No, they're not available. I don't have it. Go choose what you want, and as you select it, you can put them into the shopping cart. Okay. At checkout, you also need to make sure that you select, when you select Professional Tech Academy, that you select the right dates at the right location. And in addition to that, do you want to do it as a 1-pay or a 2-pay? You got to do that as the option at checkout when you do that. And I just want to say that your next $500,000 is just 3% away. So I want to help you make it happen together. What I'm going to do for you right now is I'm going to take the questions that came into chat, which is, hey, Chris, for the first class, what do you recommend for us, tech class or sales class? I would need you to do me a favor and unmute yourself. And by the way, because we finished early, I'm going to take on the fly questions. Okay. I'm not closing this thing down if you want to stay. The question is for iPhone 3, because I don't have a name, I'm sorry. Whoever's on their iPhone, what industry are you in? And you can unmute yourself if it makes it easier. Or you can chat it in, whichever one. What industry are you in? Because that'll help me to decide. While we're waiting on that, Daniel, thank you so much for the vote of confidence. Yeah, there it is. Go ahead.
Hey, brother, I was waiting for this probably for the past 3 weeks. I've been waiting, bugging a lot of people at Blue Collar about this, okay?
Okay.
Hey, Troy, and hey, everyone.
Okay. So what trade are you in?
Say it again.
What trade are you in? What is your
plumbing? Only plumbing?
Plumbing only.
Plumbing only. San Francisco here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Perfect. Then I'm going to tell you the technician class is the class you want to be in.
Definitely. Yeah, that's the one I'm gonna buy.
The sales class is made for big ticket stuff. Okay. All right.
Hey, that was my question. How did you know? Wait, do you have like a crystal ball or something?
Um, yeah,
That,
fantastic.
that was my question.
I'm
So sales is for big tickets. What about, can you maybe talk a little bit about management? Let me see, the Management Growth Academy.
Yep, Management Growth Academy, and I've got that next question in as well, and I'll take that for you. Okay, so for everybody, what is Management Growth Academy? It is an academy that is 100% designed for any manager at any level of management: call center manager, dispatch manager, service manager, sales manager, warehouse manager, install manager. We're teaching three core fundamentals around people and everything to do with people, which is recruiting, hiring, training, all of that, right? All that we teach in the class. The next is process, how to build processes and how to implement processes. And then lastly is the place to be. In other words, we help you focus on the culture of your business. The last class that we taught, I think we put 80 people in that class. It's a fantastic class, but it's not a part of a process. Like it's all built on skilling up and leveling up. Yeah, there you go. Danetta's a repeat offender. She said she's been 4 times and she gets a ton out of it every single time. So I hope, Les, that helps you as well. The Management Growth Academy as well, to go with that. Thank you, Darby, for the comments. And it looks like maybe I have answered all the questions about the content. So here's where, John, if you can just do me a favor. In order to implement training and reinforce with my team, and I don't know, whoever is the plumber, help me with that. And by the way, this is where I want you to chat in. We're done. I told you what I need to tell you. I showed you what I need to show you. I told you what you need to do for next steps. I've got 13 minutes that I'm giving to you off the cuff, business questions, whatever you want. And if I don't get any, I'm bouncing and I'm going to grab dinner. Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate that. Yes, Les. And by the way, stay on the lookout. We do this kind of stuff on a regular basis as value build for you guys. I'm not locking your room and asking you to buy, but hey, I'm here to give you some massive value. Yeah, thank you for that as well on the podcast. Nice plug on our podcast, Home Service Business Success. You'll find our first season has already dropped.
Chris, I got a question for you.
Absolutely. What you got?
What's in the blue collar vault pertaining to bringing up other leaders within the organization?
I think, and in fact, Andy, one of the things I'll say there is this is on our roadmap where we will be, and I'm speaking out of turn. I can't give you the date, but we will be developing a class that is a train the trainer class, so we can teach people how to teach. Does that make how to do what we do, right? That is on our roadmap. As far as bringing other managers up, I think I would really be more focused on what is the position and what is the skill sets that they need to learn. Because sometimes, Andy, it might be more about time management. It might be task management. It's not just leadership stuff. And we've got a little bit of all of that inside of the vault. And I think James is your coach. Is that right? Will you ask James that same question so that he can specifically guide you? Do this, do this, do this, do this.
Roger, one thing he showed me first is the job scorecard, creating that. So
Yes.
my other leaders, and I can hold them, the metrics is really the thing. I've had responsibilities and roles, but never metrics to the role.
And James can help work with you individually, Andy, because we teach how to build out those scorecards because it's not just slap some numbers in there and call it good. Like you got to be really intentional about how you put those together. And that goes back for everybody that's wondering when we talked about the scorecards, it goes back to the technicians when I said level 1, level 2, level 3, measurable numbers that are graded. It's not just yes or no. It is when we measure average ticket, are you an A plus, an A, a B, a C, or an F, right? And so now I can say in this area, the scorecard, and for many of you, here's what I want to say. This is where the scorecard becomes the heavy, not you. This is not you always at people of your, I need you to work on, for me, Andy, Probably a sales manager is going to have some sales metrics in it, but probably tied to some financial metrics as well, like gross margins on jobs. Because let me say this, as a sales manager, you want me to drive sales? Hell, watch this. Hold my beer, right? I can drive sales all day long, but I might be selling at discounts, and that's not good for the business. So the manager's got to have some level of accountability as well. So I hope that helps.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Perfect. So glad to have you in here as well. Yeah, and so Amy, I hope that helped you with that. Let me go. Shane asked a question. Yeah, and Daniel, I hope you got your question there. Okay, next question. We go back to iPhone, and I don't want to keep people. If you got to bounce, bounce. But the question is, will the coaches? Are there a lot of coaches at the tech trainings? We just have one trainer or one facilitator at the classes, depending on the class and the class size. We may have more than one, sometimes two. And if the class is really large, like Management Growth Academy, we probably would have three at that. So who's teaching the class is always a toss up. Every single one of our trainers, you're not going to get bad delivery from them. They are blue collar tested, tried and true. They're very good trainers. So I give you my word on that. Marketing. Look at there. How do I feel about Facebook awareness, style ads versus lead gen? Shane, let me answer this question for you. Branding doesn't make the phone ring. Branding keeps you in front of people. So I'm a big fan of call to action and branding. So if it's just Facebook, I want to be a great information resource for people to want to follow my page and want to know more about, and this sounds silly, but how about some DIY tricks? Because what that does is I may find at some point that the DIY tricks is a little beyond my skill set, call now. So I'm a big fan of the blend. Don't just go straight call to action. Don't go straight branding. And it'll depend on the maturity of your business, of how long you've been in business as to what that should look like. A newer business should spend more of their budget on CTA to drive revenue so that they can then have the money to drive brand awareness. But early in, when I go into a market, when I would open up a new location in a market where I had zero brand awareness, nobody's calling me. So I've got to focus on direct call to actions. And then as I start growing my business, then I start shifting my money into some brand awareness around TV, radio, billboard, those kind of things that are mass media. So I hope that helps as well. Let's see, how do you get your text to buy in? Some just want to clock in and clock out. Yeah, which makes their speed decrease. I say this, Brent, with the utmost of respect. I, as a leader, my job is to get in front of my team and sell them on where we're going. And remember this, you've got to sell what's in it for them, of why would they want to do this? What will it do for them? It'll either make their job easier, it'll make them more efficient, it'll make them more valuable, it'll make them more money, it'll make them have more self-worth. If this is all about the number and the customer, and by the way, let me just say this, if this is all about us delivering better customer service, they're just not going to buy into that. What they want to know is, how's this going to affect me, and what am I going to get out of this? And I know that sounds very weird, but like, that's what you got to do. So when you get up and you're selling this concept, people that buy in, I get them to buy in. People that don't buy in, I push them out. I start replacing people. Like I said this, the sun can't shine when there's dark clouds. And yes, let me go back. Let's see. Yep, see that. Yeah, thank you that. Thanks for the extra 3%. Yeah, gotcha. Thank you for that. Team Jacob in the house as well. Thank you, Chris. Make sure I got all the questions. I think that I do. Yeah, Travis, thank you for hopping in. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that that you hopped in here for us. I hope you found value by that. Okay, great. Here was a question that came in from someone. In order to implement training and reinforce my team, do I need to go to all classes? And that was where I was saying it depends on your situation. Here's what I would tell you. If you're a single truck operator, the best thing that you can do is try to get out of the field. If you're good at selling, stay in the field and hire a call taker. If you're not good at selling, find somebody that is good at selling and you go to the office. However, let's suppose today I'm a 10 truck operator. Where should I start? I'm a big fan of better ROI. And I would start with looking at my call center booking rate, and then I would look at my field close rate and my field conversion. Where's the biggest opportunity? That's where I put my money, right? So if we're booking at 50% on the phone and our field close rate is 75% at a $1,000 average ticket, I'm gonna go to the phones. I'm gonna start focusing on training on the phones. But if our phones are good and our field close rate and our average ticket's low, I'm gonna go to the field. I'm gonna start working with the techs first. But don't just work on one and not the other. Like, make sure it's a plan. I hope that helps. That message that came in. How do you handle credit card processing fees in the process? We collect $40,000 fees on 24. We got 30,000 more. Great question, Mag. Here's what I'd say. Credit cards are a cost of doing business. And if you're on the phone today and you have not done a cost of doing business training, I highly recommend it. Basically what we do, it's the very first thing we do as a blue collar member. Everybody knows this as a member. Very first thing that we do is we get your income statement. We plug into this tool called the Profit Producer. It then tells you what your billable hour needs to be. From there, then we turn that into what we call the break-even tool. It will then show you how much revenue you need to sell every day just to keep the doors open and make no money. Credit card processing gets built into that price. So you should not be paying credit card processing out of your profits. That really should be a part of built in. And I've seen that Brandon hopped into that. But, oh, look at there, the profit producing tool. I didn't even see that. Thank you. Let's see. Make sure I got everything. John, am I missing anything? Is that everything? I think I got it all. Sweet. It's 6:56 East Coast. Remember, sale ends at the 31st at midnight, 40% off. You're not going to get a better opportunity than you got today. Yes, thank you so much, team, for making this happen, and for you committing, for those that are from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, Canada, North America, wherever you're at. Thank you all so very much. Really big shout out to my folks. Really quick, I just got to say this. Tim and James, or whoever coordinated those cinnamon rolls sent to my house. Those things were fantastic. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys, and I thank you all for this opportunity. Be on the lookout for us. Find our Facebook group. You can follow it, the Blue Collar Success Group. Hit us up. We can be a help to you. Members, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys showing the love and showing up and showing out for everybody else. You got questions for us, hit us up. We're happy to get answers for you. Till then, y'all take care and be well.
Accelerate your path to success with the Blue Collar Success Group.